Hi there, welcome back to our channel. It's Mark from Orange Rocket. Hope you're doing well. Today I want to talk about one of the most important aspects of running a private label business, and that is understanding your finances. So we hear a lot about people talking about the performance of their business in terms of turnover. So you hear terms like 5, 6, 7, 8 figure sellers, and what they're talking about is revenue. And that can be quite difficult to understand whether that actually means that's a good business in terms of financial performance, because it's just turnover. And as I'm going to show you here, there's a lot more to the financials of a business than just turnover. So what we need to understand is how the financial performance actually ends up with either money in your bank or money coming out of your bank, because I've worked with many sellers doing high turnover figures who've been making a loss or break even, and those that have been making lots of money, and then also at the other end, so low turnover businesses who are also making lots of money or struggling. So the amount of turnover really kind of is not always a good indicator of success. So let me show you, let me just turn this off, I can't see my face. So what we do for the people that we work with is produce a profit and loss report for all of their products, and it comes from a static file that Amazon produces every 2 weeks, and it's a bit like sort of how sort of bank statements are produced, where every time there's a transaction, whether it's a sale or a refund or a storage fee or a subscription fee, that gets written into this file, and then if there are more fees than revenue, then that results in you paying Amazon. If there is more revenue than fees, then of course you earn some money at the end of that 2 weeks. So this profit and loss summarizes that, and it's an operational profit and loss because we don't factor in all of the non-Amazon costs, like payroll and transport costs and mobile phones and all of that kind of stuff. So this is just what's on Amazon. Now, it does require a couple of pieces of information, but largely it's produced from the data on Amazon. So we produce it in 2 formats. One is products. So you can see here that we've got products as the first page, and this is for January. This is made up data. It's based on real life, but it is actually made up. And you can see we've got February, March, and April, so there's one per month, and what we do is we'll just take the basic information regarding units and orders. So obviously some people order more. Total revenue, this is obviously for product 1, total revenue, and then the first piece of information that we require to give this report that Amazon doesn't have is the cost of goods. So obviously this is the cost of producing, making, manufacturing, whatever it is, the product. Now it may or may not include some delivery fees, and I'll come to that in a minute, but essentially it's the cost to you before you send it out to a customer. So then we've got obviously refunds. Now fixed fulfillment fees and variable fulfillment fees are the fees that the lion's share of the fees that Amazon charges you. So fixed fulfillment fees, we used to call them pick and pack. So this is the fee to deliver it to the end customer. Now this will be an FBM product fulfilled by merchants, so there are no fees. So the cost of goods will include the cost of sending that product to the customer. And then this one, probably an FBA product, and this obviously has some fixed fulfillment fees that mean that there is a cost that Amazon charge you for delivering it to the customer. Now the variable selling fees are the fees largely 15% of the selling cost, which is everyone pays that, which is the cost of not advertising, but cost of being on the platform. It's a percentage of the selling fee, and then promotions. So this is the total cost of the direct costs. So revenue less direct costs equals what we call gross profit, and then advertising spend is the second piece of information that we have to add to this report, because Amazon doesn't give us the data in this static file by product. It just gives us, this is how much you spent on advertising, but we need to break it down by product, so we have to get that information separately. And then we have a net margin, which is obviously that minus that, and then a net profit. We produce, as I said earlier, a product's P&L first, because a product can be made of multiple SKUs. So if I just go to the second report, so that's February, March, April. Now, this is January, the SKU report. Now, what you need to obviously understand about products and SKUs is that you can have multiple SKUs that are relevant to each product. So let's take, for example, SKU 4. And if we look at those two SKUs, we can see that, let's just move that over slightly, that there is a FBM and an FBA version of that SKU. Now that will all come together in one product, and Amazon give us the data for advertising for that one product, but we need to look at the individual costs, because I often have conversations with people I work with about what's the different cost of delivering products to the customer. That's actually not a good example. Let's just try an FBA. Let's try 6, and that's a better example, because obviously this is made up data. Some of it's not perfectly as it would be in real life. So this is a good example of an FBM product and an FBA product, and you can see here that cost to make the product, packing fees, label fees, these are just standard categories that we use. Testing fees, if there are any testing, if it's a supplement, for example, sometimes that's just 0. And then you'll notice that this one's got $4. It doesn't matter, this is in dollars, but it could be pounds. The cost to deliver it to a customer, because this is an FBM. An FBA would have no costs, but an FBA would have some fixed fulfillment fees because Amazon is charging you. So that's why you can't compare it at this level, because the total cost of goods for an FBM product at this level will look higher. But then when you come down here, you can see obviously that there's some fixed fulfillment fee for the FBA product and not for the FBM. So here then we come down to the bottom, and we can see that for this particular FBA product there was considerably more revenue for the FBA. Obviously it makes it a bit, that's the wrong way around. You can see that there was 9,000 revenue and 200 revenue, but you can see that the FBA revenue was a higher percentage. And that's something important if you want to know whether FBA and FBM is more cost effective. Then you can actually create 2 SKUs, run them side by side, and then have a look at what the various costs are. So we produce the SKUs. Now this doesn't have advertising cost in, because we can't break down the advertising spend by SKU. We can only break it down by product. So FBA, so product 6, if we go back here, product 6 is here. And that's obviously April's data, and I'm showing you January's data here. So if we come back to April, we could go back to just 6, and we could see that. Now obviously this, I've made up this data. This is, this is not completely accurate in terms of how it would really be. All the numbers would add up if this was real data, but essentially what we're showing here is how you can break down your product data, your SKU data. Now this is all automated for us, but actually is, once you've set it up, it can actually make quite a big difference. And then finally, what we do for the people we work with is that we produce it all together in a nice summary format, so that you can see that that the revenue, all of the costs, all of the advertising, and then you can start looking at percentage of gross margin, overheads, fees, all of that kind of stuff, and then come down here to percentages. Now you've got to be careful looking at percentages. You need to sometimes look at, you know, the actual dollar or pound figures, because even though the percentage was lower, it was actually a bigger dollar amount. And then the most important part of this is to start looking, when you come back here and your performance is either up or down, you can start looking and saying, right, well, do I have products like this one, product 7, that's losing me money? Or is all of my business reliant on a couple of products? And that's why it's important to start understanding not only the overall profit and loss, but how that's made up in terms of individual products and individual SKUs. I hope that helps. And if you've got any questions, then please do ask. You can find us on all the usual social medias, or drop us an email. Love to hear from you. Thanks very much. Bye bye.